My name is Peter Maguire. In 1997, I created and launched jazz clubs worldwide. The past year or so has been something of an existential crisis for the jazz scene worldwide. Upside or downside, it has, however, provided space and time for reflection. Jazz, My Life, is a non-sequential series of my own personal recollection and thoughts about my own lifelong immersion in the world of jazz. If you feel inclined to do so, please click on the subscribe button and the notification Saxman icon. There was a time when I used to travel Europe quite extensively, and sometimes I'd be accompanied by an American friend and also business associate. He was a very, very nice man, actually, lived up in the north, one of the northern states of America, but it was obvious from his accent that in fact his origins were in the southern states. I can't remember precisely where, but certainly he was born and brought up in one of the southern states. He was an admirable guy, caring, very nice, polite, intelligent, well educated, really, really nice guy. I was very happy to be with him. However, on one particular evening, was my habit when I was travelling around always to look out for some jazz, either to play or to go and listen to jazz. And we were in Zurich, and at that time there was a bar called the Vida Bar, which was on the opposite side of the river to the more popular area where the famous Casa Bar existed. Casa Bar is closed now, sadly. But the Vida Bar, as far as I know, which was a very well-known restaurant and a hotel, was very, very popular for jazz. The patron was a great enthusiast, and the kind of people that he actually featured on his jazz evenings were always the very highest level, always. I don't think he even used local bands. He might have used local rhythm sections occasionally, but you'd get really big names playing there. Anyway, we were in Zurich and we went to the Vida Bar. The group was headed by Thad Jones, and alongside him Joan Richardson, the alto player, plus a very, very good American rhythm section. Very intimate place, no more than maybe 30, 35 people. It was great, absolutely fantastic evening. Anyway, when the gig was over, they were all sitting at the bar having a drink after that, and I went over to the piano player and we had a very nice talk, and I said how much I liked the music and what a privilege it was to see such a very high level band in such a pleasant environment. Noticeably, my friend in fact came nowhere near. He just stayed in a far corner of the room and didn't come over and join in the conversation. I did look at him two or three times, but it was quite obvious that he wasn't going to come over and join in the conversation. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I had a very nice chat with some of the guys from the band, and we left. And it was really sometime later that I was rather puzzled, because my friend was a friendly kind of sociable kind of guy, and then it suddenly occurred to me, of course, I'm pretty certain this is the reason, that the whole band in fact were African American, and he really, I don't know whether he was unable to join in because of this, or whether he had an aversion to this or what, but I'm pretty certain in my own mind that the reason he didn't come over and join in the conversation was something he felt uncomfortable with. But the interesting thing is that a couple of days later, we drove in the car up to Hamburg, where there was another jazz club that I knew quite well, which I'd actually played at or subsequently played at, called Dennis's Swing Club. Unfortunately, it's now gone. It was in a rather ritzy part of Hamburg, Papenhuderstrasse, run by a piano player, an African guy, not sure exactly from where. Um, and it was a very, very popular spot. Anyway, we rolled in there. In fact, I think this was probably the first time I'd been there. And there was the house band, and there was a lady, an African American lady again, but in fact she lived in Switzerland. Anyway, I joined, was asked to sit in with the band, and I did so. I had a great evening. But the interesting thing from my point of view is that, unlike in Switzerland, when he was unable to come over and join in the conversation with the band, I mean, you know, heroes for me, people like Thad Jones. When the gig was over, he was all over this lady. He just would not leave her alone. And I thought this was a very interesting contrast. I'm not, I hope, dealing in any kind of amateur psychology, but it really was really notable that whereas when it was African American men was one situation, when this was an African American lady, it was a totally different situation. And it really made me realise perhaps not for the first time, but really made me aware of the insidious nature of racism.